Good morning, D-Money.
D-Money, I love that. That's so prosperous. I don't know. He just made that up and started calling me that a few months ago.
I like it.
I like it too. I'm not that clever. I'm like, well, and you too, Taylor. All right, good morning and welcome to our 2021 edition of the Rainbow Series, Grace and Grit. That is our theme this year. Because it is with grace that we move through this collective uncertainty. And it's with grace and grit that we face the uncertainty before us that we are collectively experiencing right now. But we are able to do so with courage and fortitude. Without grace, there would be this feeling of needing to control everything outside of us. We would be focused on conditions. We wouldn't be able to walk by faith. And when we can't walk by faith, when we're walking by sight and we're in uncertainty and we're worried and maybe we have some fear, often we will end up going right into our shadow. Now the shadow is where we felt the pain of life, like throughout our whole life. If we had some sort of pain or tragedy or trauma, or just interactions with people, and we never were able to really cope with what happened, that just goes into our shadow then, something that needs healing. But see, in the shadow, when we're in our shadow, we don't know we're in our shadow. We just look around at life and think, well, it's hard, and people are basically horrible, and there's a lot of struggle, and we don't even realize that we could call forth grace to shine the light and heal what's in the shadow needing to be healed. Now, grace is the givingness of spirit. Grace is whatever we need right in that moment that we need it, because grace defines itself by need and task. It's the movement of God in our lives. It's the answered prayer. It's the inspiration. It's that creative idea just when you needed it. All right? It's the miracles. With the healing power of grace, we are able to address whatever needs healing in our own shadow. When we start healing the shadow and shining the light into the shadow, we move into the laboratory of the soul. When we're in the laboratory of the soul, we're letting the soul drive our bus. We see with the eyes of faith. Well, this is when we bring the big light to the game. Okay, so we choose courage, we walk in faith, and we do the inner work. Because when we do the work here, things change out here. We call forth solutions. We become the person who handles these challenges. We become the person who makes the choices that honor our divine nature. So we're moving into that next brightest experience for ourselves. But if we choose from fear, we end up getting caught up in those conditions, right? And we think, well, you know what, that thing over there needs to change. And that needs to be changed, and life needs to go back to normal. Life needs to go back to how I like it, and that's when I can be happy. But those are choices from fear. And you know, we are at our most challenged when we are in our shadow. We are just not ourselves when we are in our shadow. So the first part of the Rainbow Series, we went into the shadow and the grace of the root chakra, which that's our tribal chakra. And the shadow there is hubris, and our biggest fear then when we are in the shadow is that we're not going to belong to a group, that people will not approve of us. And so what haunts us in that shadow is fear of humiliation, fear of being embarrassed, fear of shame. So that shadow isolates us. The grace of the root chakra is reverence, which allows us to see all of life as sacred, including our own life. So we are self-accepting, no matter our flaws or our crunchy exterior. So then we went to the second chakra, the sacral chakra. And the shadow there is greed and avarice. Within the shadow, we do not trust ourselves. We do not trust what it is that works through us, for us, as us. And our biggest fear is not having enough. That particular shadow is haunted by addiction. The grace of the sacral chakra is piety, which is being devoted to seeing the reverence of all of life. And that's where we practice seeing the activity of God. We practice looking for the movement of God in our lives. And we call forth our gifts. So today we go into the solar plexus, which is represented by the color yellow. And our solar plexus, this is about self-esteem, integrity. It's our personal code of honor. It's how we trust ourselves. It is also accepting responsibility for how we use our power, for how we share our gifts, for how we take care of our body. We take responsibility for how we take care of the whole package of our life. The shadow of the solar plexus is entitlement. Now, I know we think of entitlement as, well, it's all about me, right? Because I'm special. I know the terrain in this shadow pretty well. And with it comes a lack of responsibility, right? So it's not just being entitled, look at me, I'm so special, but it's the lack of responsibility. When we are in the shadow of entitlement, it doesn't occur to us that choices we make will affect other people, and that other people may have to deal with the consequences of that choice that we just made. And I always think at this time, Dave and I had gone to a movie, and it's years ago. I think it was a Jurassic Park movie, right? It's all, but see, this stuck with me because I'm kind of a germaphobe, but like way before the pandemic, like way before it was cool to be one. So but we went to this movie, and I heard somebody coughing and hacking and sneezing, and I was like, oh man, I'm in an enclosed space with somebody who's sick, right? I'm like, I would never come to a movie theater if I felt like that, right? But that, again, right, a choice. Sometimes it's like, is my choice to go to a movie even though I'm sick going to override my responsibility to not spread my germs around everywhere? That's entitlement. That is entitlement. It just doesn't occur to us that we're doing that. We've seen it happen in the grocery store. Again, remember, in our shadow, we are not at our best. We are in fear, and uncertainty is crushing us. So we look at those last 12 packs of toilet paper on the shelf, and we think, I've got to have all of those. And it doesn't occur to us, well, what if somebody's really desperate and they're actually down to their last roll, right? It doesn't occur to us when we are in our shadow. Our shadow might look like, well, it's not fair that I have to go on a diet or work out to get in shape. Just give me a pill. Just give me a pill. Like, let me know, okay, when you get that. No, I like going to my gym because the guys there are fabulous. It might look it might also look like, well, I just don't want to do the work. I don't want to put the effort into something. You know, never mind that maybe somebody put a lot of work into what they created and then maybe we're a little envious of them. But it's like, well, if we don't want to do the work, how do we accomplish then what they accomplished? We tend to go for instant gratification when we are in the shadow of our entitlement. We just want everything to work out for us. I remember thinking, this has been a while, but, well, if God wanted me to have because I used to be in holistic healing, well, if God really wants me to have this holistic healing business, some God out there, right, is going to send me all my business. Otherwise, forget it. Like, God, let God do my marketing. In the shadow of entitlement, this can also look like bad things aren't supposed to happen to my family. Like, yeah, I know there was a flood over there and this terrible fire and people lost their house and this person got sick and so-and-so, somebody they love died. That those always happen to other people. That's not supposed to happen to me. My house is not supposed to burn down in a fire. My pipes aren't supposed to bust if there's an earthquake. Somebody in my family's not supposed to get sick. What's going on? Right? That's not supposed to happen. Why did my business fail? That just isn't right. Why did somebody else's business do okay, but why did mine fail? We look at these bad things and we think, this is not supposed to be about my life. This is just what happens to other people. Why me? Why, God, did you, there's blame too with entitlement. Why did you let this happen? And this is the whole metaphysics behind the story of Job in the Bible. This is another one of the stories, like prodigal son's like now my favorite, but Job is also my favorite, though I used to not like it. But there is a lot of metaphysics in the story of Job about how big this universe really is and how there are infinite moving parts. There's so many moving parts in this universe. So you know how the story starts off. There's Job. He's really righteous, so righteous and good. He will make sacrifices every time his kids all get together and celebrate and feast, just in case they did something, right? So Job is staying ahead of the game. So he's making his sacrifices, he's praying to God, praying all the time, but he's wealthy too. He's like super, super wealthy and beautiful family, good health, and of course all the people in his area, they praise him. Job is so good. God must really love Job a lot because look at all the good stuff he's got. And so one day, Yahweh is conversing with the other sons of heaven just about things, and Satan shows up. Yahweh says, well, where have you been? Satan says, oh, to and fro across the earth. Yahweh says, well, what do you think of Job? Like, he's Job. Like, what do you think of Job? And Satan says, well, he's fine. Yahweh says, yeah, but look how much he praises me. He's such a righteous person. Like, he's such a good person. And I know he's giving sacrifices and praying. Satan says, well, yeah, because you give him everything. The guy's rich. He doesn't struggle. Like, he's never had to struggle. So Yahweh says, all right, well, let's test this. You can do whatever you want to Job. Just don't kill him. And let's see. Let's see if he still praises my name or not. Satan accepted the challenge. He took everything from Job. Everything. All of his cattle, goats, donkey, camels. The guy had like 7,000 camels. Okay, his family, he lost his family. And then finally he's losing his health. There's one version of the story actually talks about like things falling off of him. Right? He's just literally he's falling apart. Job is suffering, he's struggling, he's miserable, and he questions the Lord. Why is this happening to me? Look how much I love you and praise your name. I give you sacrifices all the time. I even pray for my kids just in case they do something. I feel like I'm a pretty good person, Yahweh. Why did this happen to me? Why? Well, now about this time, Job has some of his friends show up. You know, those good friends that are like, we come to comfort you, but secretly they're there to blame you and point fingers, right? So one of the friends, he says, I don't know what you did, but it must have been bad. You are being punished for something. His other friend says, no, you just need to be more good. You need to be more upright, more righteous. You need to pray more. His third friend says, oh, please, we know that you're self-righteous and fearful, and you just act like you have it all together. So now Job is like, great. My God has abandoned me. My friends are betraying me. Well, he had another friend show up named Elihu. And Elihu was younger, because in the Bible, Elihu actually says, you guys are all old. But you have to, and I listen to you out of respect, but now you're going to listen to me. Elihu first rebukes Job's friends. He says, you guys do not know what you're talking about. You're focusing on all these bad things. You are obsessed with bad things, and you should be focusing on the wonders that are God. And then he looks to Job and he says, don't give up because life is hard. Don't keep focusing on all of your suffering. Consider the wonders that are God. Go beyond your suffering. Consider the wonders that are God. Now, in that moment, you know how sometimes happens where we're really feeling stuck, and then somebody just says something out of the blue, and it kind of opens us up just a little, and all of a sudden we're willing to hear, and then we receive guidance, and then we're like, oh, okay. Well, that's what happened to Job. And in that moment, Yahweh comes to Job in a whirlwind, and Yahweh says, who is it that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Stand up, like a man, I shall question you, and you shall declare to me what you know. So Job's like, okay. Yahweh says, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Now really, Yahweh, this conversation goes on for many pages. I've picked out what I think are the most beautiful parts, but it's a work of beauty. So he says, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. When did I create the morning stars and all the angels shouted for joy? Who shut up the sea with gates when it broke forth as if it had issued from the womb? Have you commanded the dawn since your days began? Do you know the place of the morning? Where's the dwelling place of light and where's the place of darkness? Do you know its borders and the path to its house? Do you know in what manner light is distributed, or from where does the wind come from to go forth across the earth? Can you stop the movement of the Pleiades? Do you know the path of Orion? Do you know the laws of the heavens? Now in that moment, Job was humbled. Job was humbled so he could surrender now, right? We can't surrender and give it all over to God until we're humbled first. We think we know it all, right? We're not surrendering to nobody. Okay, but Job was humbled, so he surrendered, and because he could surrender, he could consider the wonders that were God. This is how we are able to accept grace. Now at that point, God actually says to Job's friends, you need to ask Job to pray for you. So they did, and Job prayed for them, and then his life was filled with good things again. He got his health back, his family, his riches, in fact, vast riches, greater than what he ever even had before. Now Job believed that the package of his life should be in a certain way. He was upright and upstanding and righteous and prayed all the time and gave offerings all the time. So that meant nothing bad should ever happen to him. And that's how we can feel when we're in the shadow of entitlement. When we feel like the package of our life should be a certain way, like our body should be able to heal quickly, our career should reflect how we have a special purpose on this planet, right? Our relationships should run smooth and harmoniously without us having to put any work into it. But then when that stuff doesn't work out, the implication behind that is that, well, maybe we're not good enough if this stuff is not working out, if we've been let down. Now, if we're feeling not good enough, the implication there is that we diminish the sanctity of our own life. We don't honor our own life. We go into conflict. We go into conflict with our body when it's not working out right. Like I remember, like when I first became a massage therapist, and I know that I did this in my own life, but my clients would lay on that table and they would say things like, stupid knees not working right, my stupid shoulder, my stupid neck, right? They were in conflict with their body. And like, so I learned pretty early on, it's like, I'm not going to be cursing my body all the time. Like, I want to, like, I love you, I'm sorry for all the crap I put you through. I'm really sorry. But when we go into conflict with the package of our life, what happens is we start hemorrhaging our vital life force energy. Vital life force energy is what enables us to be here right now. But if we are focusing on, like, why did this happen? How could this have happened? Life will not be okay until everything out there goes back to normal again. We're sending our vital life force energy into our history and into our past somewhere. So we don't have it to animate us here and now. So this is where we need this next grace, the grace of understanding. When we're in the shadow of entitlement, life revolves around us and we're all focused on the conditions around us. When conditions don't go our way, we want to know why. We got to have the reasons. You need to tell me why this is happening. I need to know about all this. But if we're in the shadow of entitlement, we got there through the shadow of our second chakra, avarice, which is not having enough. But if we got into the shadow of the second chakra, we got there through the first chakra, where the shadow is not being enough. When we don't believe we are enough, we'll never expect that we have enough. And then this moves us into entitlement. Well, life's supposed to be this way. It's not supposed to be hard for me. I've struggled a lot. I've lost a lot. I deserve a break. I deserve for somebody to just ride in and take care of all this for me. See, the grace of understanding is about transformation. Job never got an answer to any of his why questions. Nothing. Not one single question was answered. He never knew about the little challenge that Yahweh and Satan had going on. He never knew about that. He never knew why any of that happened, right? He got no clarity except for the two things Yahweh expressed to him, which basically are summed up as God is bigger than anything you can understand. Right? That's what Yahweh was saying to him. I am bigger than you have any idea. You cannot conceive of how big I am. But then Yahweh also shared, and the universe is full of moving parts. You have no idea how everything works together. No idea. So Job was able to experience transformation because he surrendered. He was humbled before God, chose to consider the wonders that are God, and he was transformed. The grace of understanding is what allows us to focus on the wonders that are God, right? To focus on the bigness and that there are infinite moving parts. We are never going to know why most everything happens. We're just not going to know why. We're not going to know why that guy cut us off at that four-way stop and maybe flipped us off, right? We're not going to know why. But we send our vital force energy into our history if we keep focusing on that. Why did that guy do that? Doesn't he know I'm a nice person? Like, doesn't he know I let him go first when he wasn't even there first? Well, we're never going to know about so many things. And I know for myself, I like closure. I want clarity on things. We just don't get it. We just don't get it. So what this grace does is it helps us to understand that it's not about understanding why bad things have happened. It's not about understanding why other people do what they do. Because what other people do, what they do, that's all about them. That's all about them being in their own shadow. That's all about them and their woundedness. That's all about them and their own scar tissue. What they did, maybe it wasn't fair. But we're still not ever going to really know why they did what they did. Maybe we don't get justice. We may not get justice for something, and maybe it would be nice that we got justice. But we may never understand why we didn't get justice for something. But remember, when Job was dwelling on all those whys, why me, why this, he stayed in suffering. Now, if we stay focused on what doesn't go our way, how things should have been different, how things shouldn't have happened, it shouldn't be like this. We are sending our vital force energy, our vital life force energy into our history. That vital life force energy is not meant to time travel. It's meant to be here now, animating our life that we are creating here now. It's our vital life force energy that allows us to step into the fullness of our divine potential. What we choose next to do. We make a choice that honors our divine nature, or we make a choice that fails to honor our divine nature. But it's having our vital life force energy here, present with us, letting all that other stuff go. It's here with us. That's how we are able to be in the grace of understanding and make choices that honor our divine nature, so we are getting to step into the potential, our divine potential. We can stop asking why. Right? Stop asking why. Instead, we focus on the wonders that are God. We go here first, because it's from here that we change things out here. We're not here and asking, why did this happen? We are here and we are asking, all right, what do I do next? What's next? Show me. How can I be of service now? How can I carry the most light possible now? What do I need to let go of right now? How can I bring the big light to the game right now? So the grace of reverence, the first grace, right? It's all about seeing the sacredness of life. The grace of piety is about being devoted to practicing seeing the sacredness of all of life and how God is moving through everything and always creating. When we ask for the grace of understanding, we get to call forth ever available infinite substance. Because remember, if God's always creating, there's infinite substance available for all of that creation. And when we're here now with our vital life force energy, we call forth understanding, we're ready to take that next step, honoring our divine nature, stepping into our divine potential. All of the substance, the creative substance we could possibly need is available to us. And it's all because we have our vital life force energy here. Understanding helps us to remember and to see this life. Well, we're all on a journey together. We are on this journey right now together. We're never going to know what makes another person tick. Not really. Not really. We're not going to know that. But we're going to understand our part. Like, what can I bring into this sacred relationship? I have no idea what that guy's doing, but what can I bring into this relationship right now? What is my part? Now, when we can start letting things go, we can even see our own woundedness as instead of scar tissue, we see it as our divine directive. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to be okay that we got wounded. It doesn't mean that we're like, oh, it's okay you did that, no worries. But in this grace of understanding, we understand we can't time travel and go back and change that we were wounded. But instead, we can stand right here in all of our vital life force energy and decide, okay, you know what, that wounded, well, what it's going to do for me since I can't get rid of it? It's going to make me stronger. It's going to give me courage. It's going to give me compassion. I'll utilize compassion for other people who've maybe gone through this and I never understood before, like what they might be feeling. It can become our divine directive. Okay, remember when we are in our woundedness, we tend to just go right into our shadow, where we don't know how to cope with the pain. But when we call forth grace, we send forth grace. Right? We're in the laboratory of our soul, and we have access to all the grace we could need. But see, we are also grace generators. A grace generator. We call it forth through us, and we send it out. It comes through us, we experience every grace that comes through us, but then we send it out to other people and how we are participating in our life. We send out that grace. So we look at the wonder that is God. We look at the wonder that is God. Not the struggle, not the suffering, not how we think things out there aren't okay yet. All of that, that keeps us small. Focusing on all of that is not worthy of the life that we carry. So we focus on the wonder that is God, the bigness that is God. God is bigger than anything in its way, right? We focus on the bigness of God. Then we see all of life is sacred. Everyone is a holy partner on this journey. We bring the big light to the game, and this is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are the activity of spirit in a body right here and right now. You are the heart and hands of spirit in this world. You are a soul designed to do all of this stuff. You're a soul designed for growth and goodness in everything you do. You're blessed, and so it is.
Amen.
Thank you. All right, and we have a gift of a song for you just before we do our meditation. I have to share, this is one of my original songs.